Have you ever lost someone close to you and feel as if your whole world shattered? Well, I did. I lost both my grandparents last year, within 2 months of each other. And some of you may have lost someone or multiple persons close to you and wish they were still here, as I do each and every day. Losing loved ones changed my life and my perspective on life. My grandmother died, and my grandfather quickly got worse and died 2 months after she did. It changed how I viewed life from then on. But first, let me tell you about my grandmother. She died on March 22nd, 2015. She had a lot of things going on with her body throughout the years. One thing that she had that eventually killed her was sepsis, which is a blood infection. And she also had to take a lot of pills throughout the years for her various things that went on with her body. The doctors didn't always have the right dosages right, so that helped it deteriorate her body. But she did last 8 months longer than they thought she would. They originally thought she was going to die in July of 2014, but she ended up dying in March of 2015. So we had her for a little bit longer than the doctors predicted, which I'm glad for. And my dad was able to say goodbye to her before she died because he was able to get time off to go down to Arizona to see her. But my sisters and I and my mother were not able to see her before she died because we lived too far away. Her and my grandfather lived in Arizona, and we weren't able to take time off, but we were very sad when she died. Then after Grandma died in March, my grandfather started getting rapidly worse. He was unable to stand on his own and was very dizzy. He had to stay with my uncle because he could no longer live on his own because of the dizziness. So he had to go to the hospital to have many tests done to find out what's wrong with him. They originally thought it was vertigo, which is a dizziness disease. But he couldn't even do this. And he kept getting worse, and by the time it was our grandmother's memorial service, he was in a wheelchair and he was barely conscious, but he was also on a bunch of pills from the doctors. He was hospitalized after that so they could do more tests and figure out what was wrong with him. But he kept getting worse the whole time, much worse than he should have if he had vertigo. So he was put in the hospital in St. Cloud, Minnesota. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with him, so they transferred him to the hospital in Rochester, Mayo Clinic, one of the best hospitals. We were able to stay with him at the hospitals overnight, and while they did tests on him, they finally figured out what was wrong with him there at Mayo Clinic. He had Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, rare brain protein disease, that science doesn't fully understand yet. And by then, he was being tube-fed, and he was barely conscious and could barely recognize us. So they transferred him to a nursing home in Princeton where some of my cousins live because there's nothing they can do for that disease. And since the nursing home did allow tube feedings, he went there without one, something our whole family decided together. And he was in there for about 2 weeks. The first week he was in there, my family and I were able to see him and say goodbye, knowing that he wouldn't be with us much longer. We were all very heartbroken about it. My aunt, Grandpa's sister, she was with him the whole time that he was dying, from the time he was first hospitalized up until he died at the nursing home. And then 2 months and a day later than my grandmother, he died. He died on May 23rd, 2015, the day before my sister was going to graduate high school. Knowing that both my grandparents were gone and would never see us kids graduate shook my family and changed our lives forever, not necessarily in a good way. And my heart felt like it shattered into a million pieces. My perspective on life changed. Before my grandparents died, I thought I had all the time in the world to love on them and talk to them as much as I wanted and whenever I wanted. And now I realized that everything has limits on it, even how much time you have to spend with the ones you love. It's also taught me to trust in God more than I did before. Trust in Him to take care of our family and hold us together and be our comfort. Now, it's been a cheerful time, but it has definitely impacted my family in ways that have changed us all. But losing loved ones changed my life and my perspective on life. My grandma died, my grandfather got worse and then died, and it did change my perspective. I may not have them anymore, but their memory still lives on in my heart and in the hearts of the family who loved him dearly forever.